Alex Acosta is asking if having a degree in theater changes the level of professionalism with which you are approached or you deal with other people. He asks, is it worthwhile? Is not having one prohibitive?
It all depends on your approach. I think that that a degree in theater definitely gives you certain markers that a lot of theater professionals are going to be looking for, whether that's knowing a technique, knowing a body of work, and certainly I think if you're going into a technical field, having design, like a design field, I think that having that focus is really important because you're also learning physical skills as well, which can take a long time to develop. In Philly, there's a great amount of people that can cross over from other areas. But I would say it's been very helpful for me as a playwright and for me as a theater artist that likes to dabble in a lot of areas. So I would encourage it, but particularly if you're like, I can't do anything else other than theater, which I think is how a lot of theater people end up in theater in college. If that's how you feel, then I would encourage it, but it's not prohibitive. You can get into the industry. What I would say is look for the semi-professional theater, people that are working on what you think is a very high quality, and start to understand what quality theater is early. And also be unafraid to go out and declare yourself as one and do it, even while you're in school. Because I think that doing it more than anything is what's most important. Whether that's in a college, in a semi-professional setting, and doing it with people that are serious about it. That it's not just fun, and they're not going to assume that everything they do is great. So that, yes.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Shakira York says that many writers have lived through what they write about. Is that the case with you?
It can be. Like I mentioned with my latest play, that was one of my challenges was working with something that I've lived through. It's not always true. I identify with a lot of my characters. I think I identify with all of my characters. But I like to kind of bury like personal trivia in the play, but they're usually weird, quirky things like I'll name a character after somebody that I knew or I care about deeply. A lot of times, like street names are streets that I'm familiar with because those are the ones that come to mind. I'm like, oh, I need a street. Elk Street, that's where I grew up as a kid. Fine, but there's probably an Elk Street in a lot of things. So it's those little hallmarks more than like I had a. But plus, like, I think the other thing is there's a lot of plays that have been written about how difficult it is to be a middle American white guy, and I don't really care about those plays, so I don't want to burden people with that. So I would rather try to, and a lot of times what I write is me trying to understand another person's perspective. So not always, but occasionally.
Great. Do you have a least favorite playwright? Vera Burrell asks, and why?
Yeah, I loathe Neil LaBute.
Me too.
I think honestly people should read Shape of Things because it's a bad play that's produced a lot. First of all, it's a movie. I think it's undeniably a movie, although
you mean to say that the story would have been better suited to a movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that the way the script works just makes sense as a movie and doesn't make sense as a play. And I think the end of the play is just awful, and I think that a lot of his views on women are just really, really atrocious and kind of masked behind this just some really ugly sentiments, and also like the distance of like, well, this isn't how I feel, this is how these characters are talking. Yeah, he's just. I think he writes a lot of ugly plays that don't have redeemable qualities in them, as opposed to somebody like Sarah Kane, who writes really ugly plays that are much more brutal, but I think has a point to the brutality. And yeah, so read Shape of Things to get angry, and then find good playwrights to kind of get over that. Go and read Sarah Rule after that, because she's amazing.
I second the motion on both points. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Brady on the board is asking, do you find heartbreaking rejection or triumphant success more motivating as a playwright?
I find success to be more motivating, but I think because I've suffered more heartbreaking rejection, and I think theater artists do that a lot. But I think that heartbreaking rejection is necessary, and is also to be expected. I was foolish enough to think that I would be seeing less rejection as a playwright than as an actor, and that's just not true. And I think everywhere in the theater, you just have to accept that this is part of the business. Auditioning or submitting or whatever it is part of the business, and is no reflection on your quality of work. And that's not the heart. So that shouldn't be the heartbreaking rejection. What should be the heartbreaking rejection is when you realize that something you've written and care about, as a playwright, isn't getting across what you thought it was getting across. Those are the hardest moments, and I had one of those, and I ended up rewriting 60 pages in a night because I realized that I was trying to write this quasi-feminist play that was actually kind of misogynistic and awful.
Can you tell us a little more about this?
You guys read an excerpt of it. The one who was able to. Our Lips originally had a female teacher, and what it ended up being kind of about, and I gave it to this trusted director that I really respect, and she read it and she kind of had a heart-to-heart with me about it. But so what it ended up being about was really nobody believing this girl's story and kind of victim blaming, and it was really ugly.
Huh.
And that wasn't at all my intention. It was just it was a part of the process, and that was heartbreaking. It was also, I guess that was also incredibly motivating, though, because after I met with Brenna that night, I went home and I just wrote and wrote and wrote, and I'm like, I've got to fix this. So they both are motivating, but success definitely definitely amps you up, and I think because it's a rare quality, that's one of the reasons it can kind of be more motivating.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
Actually, well, so we have a minute 20 left.
Okay.
Maybe
do it.
Here, okay. So do you tend to gravitate towards somber and dark subjects given the samples you provided us with, and why?
I do. I think that's just because why do I do that? I do gravitate towards them. I think that it's because I find a lot of kind of nuance and conflict in them. I can kind of understand. It's great to figure out where both sides are coming from. I mean, How I Learned to Drive and humanizing Uncle Peck is just such an amazing job, and I think that finding humanity is a great thing that theater does, and that's also part of the fear is that I'm afraid to talk about those things. I think we all are, and so that's something I leap into as a playwright. I think that's the other reason that I do it a lot.
Brian, thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
this has been fantastic.
This was a lot of fun. If anybody has further questions for me, you can give them my email,